Today, I want to talk about a 23C new feature, which is the Boolean data type. This is a facility that I would say is long overdue. The ANSI SQL standard defined the Boolean data type way back in SQL 99, but for one reason or another, it still isn't fully implemented by some of the mainstream database publishers. Well, in release 23C of Oracle, at last that hole is plugged. Why is it important? Well, one thing that has always particularly irritated me is that PL SQL has had a Boolean type for as long as I can remember. It's so irritating that there are many PL SQL functions that return or accept Boolean, and when using them, you always have to faff about in your code to get a result back to SQL. The ability to use the Boolean type in your queries and in table definitions is going to make coding easier and more reliable. It's about time. The ANSI standard permits values of true, false, and null for a Boolean. Oracle's implementation of Boolean conforms to that. Though the implementation of null is, as usual, not quite correct, because of Oracle considering an empty string to be equivalent to null, though there are now warnings in the docs not to rely on this because of possible future changes. But you can, for example, concatenate a null Boolean to a string, and you will get the string back. But apart from that anomaly, Oracle does seem to be following the rules. Now, there are any number of Oracle applications in any number of databases around the world where the developers have coded alternatives to a Boolean to work around the lack of that data type. And there's never been any standard for this sort of thing. And it can cause dreadful confusion with different people using different workarounds because there's no such thing as a Boolean data type. But apart from confusion, remember the optimizer has no idea of what is going on. The column is just a string or a number. It could be anything. If you do have columns like that, and I'm sure you do, then you need to take care to add appropriate check constraints. That may help with both data integrity and with performance. But the Boolean type is what we really need. Using SQL, you can now define Boolean table columns. When inserting into a Boolean column, there is implicit typecasting for various strings and numbers, but of course you should never rely on that. You should be using the provided typecasting functions. The same applies when making comparisons. Data type mismatches will probably work, but you shouldn't rely on it. This does mean, however, that when migrating an environment to use Boolean types, if you miss adjusting some code that uses a changed table definition, you should still be okay. There's limited compatibility with older versions of the SQL Plus and SQL CL clients. Versions prior to 23C will show true and false as 1 and 0. Of course, if you're using a third-party tool, I've no idea how that will react to a Boolean column. The enhancement to PL SQL, which has always had the Boolean type, is implicit conversion for the various commonly used alternatives. You have to enable this either for your session or for the whole instance. I can see this capability making adjusting an older environment to use the new data type much easier. So, now let's see how it works. So, first I'll create a table with Boolean columns. Create table btest, b1 Boolean, b2 bool. Note you can if you wish, abbreviate the word Boolean to bool. Now I'll insert some rows into that table. First, the way it really should be done. Insert into btest values true, false. Note I'm putting in a second row with true and false in uppercase, just to demonstrate the point that this is not case sensitive. Now I'll insert some strings. True and false as a string, uppercase true and false as a string. Some commonly used variations, T and F, lowercase, T and F, uppercase. Well, they've all gone in. Try a few more variations that many developers will have used. Yes, no, yes, no, YN, YN. They've all gone in to my Boolean columns without any problems. One more variation I've seen a few times. On and off. They too are mapped onto the Boolean possibilities. Then we have numbers. 3 rows here, 1 and 0, minus 1 and 0, any other number than 0. They've all gone into the table, no problem. And what do we actually have? Select star from btest, and all those variations have been correctly mapped to true and false. They've converted perfectly. Let's try a couple of comparisons. Select count star from btest, where b1 is true. Back come all 15 rows. Try the reverse. Select where b2 is not true. Back come the 15 rows. It works well. Next, typecasting. First, I'm going to use the toBoolean function call, passing it some strings, trying to convert my Booleans to numerics, trying to convert my Booleans to char. Do those conversions work? Look pretty good to me. There's also, we can do it with cast. We have select cast yes as Boolean. That's going to convert a string to a Boolean, which is done. How about the Boolean value true to a number? And that comes back as number 1. False as a varchar comes back as the string false. And these typecasting possibilities lead on to the PL/SQL enhancement. So for PL/SQL, I'll set server output on. And here's a little code block. I'm declaring VT, Boolean, setting it to true, and VF, Boolean, set it to false. Then I'm trying to use DPS output to output the values. I'm converting VT, which is a Boolean set to true, to a number, VF to a number. Then I'll try converting them to characters with toChar. Run the code, and it fails. Error at line 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Straight away, my first attempt to do any typecasting has failed with wrong number or types of arguments in call to toNumber. So toNumber can't understand a Boolean. It's the same with all of them. toChar can't understand a Boolean either. It's the same problem with converting the other way. This code block here. Here, I'm declaring a Boolean and trying to set it to a number. Set it to 1. 2 more Boolean variables, trying to set them to strings. Does that work? No, it doesn't. Failure at line 2. Type mismatch. Expression is of wrong type. But if I set the new parameter, alter session set PL/SQL implicit conversion bool equals true. Let's try my code blocks now. This first one that attempts to implicitly convert a Boolean to a number and Boolean to character, this time it's succeeded. Remember, VT was Boolean true, it comes back as 1. VF, Boolean false, comes back as 0. To the true one, comes out as true. To false Boolean comes out as false. And the second code block that tries to do implicit conversion the other way, and now it's succeeded. I've been able to put numbers and strings into my Booleans, and they come back as appropriately false true, true false. That's pretty cool. To conclude, one of my pet hates has been the faffing about you have to do when calling PL/SQL functions that return a Boolean from SQL. That is now fixed. Then we are all probably having to work nowadays in environments where we have database links going to third-party databases. If not that, we'll have applications that invoke REST services, remote REST services that use the JSON Boolean type. Things like that, interoperability with third-party services, are going to be much easier from now on. Converting an existing environment and application to use the new data type is going to take some work, but the typecasting capabilities will help, and it has to be worth the effort in the long run. The Boolean data type really is a major enhancement. Start using it.